Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and you guys will have to let me know if you can see it. Let's see. Can you guys see my screen? Can everyone kind of see my screen here? I want to make sure it's working.
Yes, I do see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, I think I did get it fixed. So I just wanted to make sure. So just a little bit about the agenda for today. I hope that everyone had a good weekend. Like I said, welcome back. I'm glad everybody could join me today. So like we do every class, we're going to do some new numbers, 41 through 50. We're going to go over the vocabulary that we started working with. We're going to go over the noun, genders, and articles, which I think you guys know for the most part, but we'll go over it just to make sure. We're going to review what we learned with telling time on Thursday. So we're going to do that. And we're going to review the homework for today because, like I said, I know some people had some issues with it. So we're going to do that. And we're going to finish up telling time. And then I'm going to go over what you have to do for Thursday. Okay. So just our numbers 41 through 50. I did add 40 on here just so you guys would have it and remember it. So this is pretty much like what we do when we were in our 30s. We literally put 40 the number. So 40 is 40 and 41 is 41. So E means and so it literally translates to 40 and 1. And then 42 is 42. 43 is 43. 44 is 44. 45 is 45. 46 is 46. 47 is 47. 48 is 48. 49 is 49. And then 50 is 50. And we'll go over this next class, but 50 works the same way as 40. It's just 51, 52, things like that. Does anybody have any questions about that before we move on, or would you like some more time to write it down, or whatever you need? Is everybody okay? Okay, so we can move on. So, just a vocabulary review of the words that we have been going over. I think that this is the last day that we're going to go over these, and then we'll work on something else on Thursday. So we got El Libro, which is the book, El Lápiz, which is the pencil, El Bolígrafo is the pen, El Sacapuntas is the pencil sharpener, El Pegamento is the glue, El Cuaderno is the notebook, La Carpeta is the folder, La Sala de Clase is the classroom, El Escritorio is the desk, and El La Estudiante is the student. And I do have on here more vocabulary coming on Thursday. Does anybody have any questions about those? I know we've gone over those a couple days. Do you need any time to write anything down, or is everybody okay with that? Everybody's good? Okay. So we went over this on for a couple days now too. So this will probably be the last day that we go over this. So noun, gender, and articles. So as we went over before, all nouns in Spanish are either masculine or feminine. And if we remember, we use el, la, los, or las, and they all mean the. It all depends on the gender of the word and the quantity, like is it singular or plural. So el is masculine, singular. La is feminine, singular. Los is masculine, plural. Las is feminine, plural. And you also take in take the genders into account when you say a something like a dog, a desk, things like that. So un and una means a. So as we went over, un is masculine and una is feminine. Would anybody like examples of that, or would you like me to go over that some more, or are we okay with that? Is everybody okay with that? Okay. So just going over what we went through with telling time from last week. So let's remember the formula that we've been using. So remember, we use es or son plus la or las and plus the number that we want to talk about. And remember, we only use es and la when it's 1. Any other number 2 through 12, we use son and las. Does that make sense? Or do you need a little bit more help with that? Does that make sense? Okay. So an example, so just 2 examples of this to show how it works is example es la una, which means it's 1 o'clock. And an example of something other than 1 is son las dos. And I do have it here. We only use es and las for la for 1. All other numbers we use son and las for. Does that make sense? We did that the other day. Okay. So when we want to add minutes, we just add the number of minutes to the end of the equation. So it's es or son, just like we did in the last one. It's la or las, just like we did. The number, like it's 350, whatever, plus the number of minutes. So an example of that would be son las 3:05. Oh, that's not what I meant to put on there. Give me 1 second here. Should be it's 3:05. I don't know why I entered that. Oh. What am I doing? Okay. Oh, let me just fix that. Okay. Does everyone understand that? Are we okay with that? And I think that after this one, I think that we're gonna go over the homework because I know a couple people had problems with it. So feel free to say the answer, feel free to type the answer, anything you want to do. So let me pull up our document here. Oh, I gotta move everyone's faces here. Okay, so I have this here. So if we wanted to say, so it's asking que hora es, which means what time is it? So give the time for each clock shown. So number 1, it's 1 o'clock. Does somebody want to tell me how to say that in Spanish? We want to say it's 1 o'clock. So remember, we're using 1. So it's going to be es instead of son. And remember, it's la. Because if we go back to, let me see. Let me move this here. Okay. All right. So remember, if we go back to our PowerPoint here, we're using es and la because it's 1. Okay. So that one would just be, let me move some of these. Oh. What am I doing? Okay. All right, so the first one is es la una. Does that make sense to everybody? Are we okay with that? Some of this out so it doesn't. So for the next one, it's 4 o'clock. Does that make, so does anyone want to tell me how you would say that? No? Okay, so. 1 second. Hi, Tahira, how are you? Okay. Sorry about that. So remember, when we're using a number other than 1, we use son. Oh, let me type here. We use son, las. Okay. So remember, now let's go back. So according to our formula, when we use something that isn't 1, we're going to use son plus las plus the number, right? So we did that for number 2. And then for number 3, it's 12 o'clock. So we're going to do son las 12. Okay. Does that make sense? Because we're not using 1, so we use son, las, and then 12. So it's exactly 12 o'clock. So for number 4, does anyone want to tell me how they put 118? So we're going to do es la una because it's 1. Oh. Son las 1:18. Right? Because if we go back to our PowerPoint here, we have es for 1, la because it's 1, plus 1, and the number of minutes, which is 18. So we have it is 1 and 18. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody's okay with that? Okay. So for the next one, it's 11 o'clock. How would we say that? Oh, nope, it's 11. Son las 11. There you go. And there's no minutes, so it's just son las 11. That means it's 11 o'clock. For number 5, I wrote this in here so you would know. So right now the clock shows that it's 2:15. So we would say son las 2:00. Anybody want to tell me? Now remember, using son and las because it's 2, it's not 1. Okay. And I know some of you put son las 2:15, which is correct. That's completely right. But we're going to actually put 15 in because we're actually going to go over that stuff a little bit later. So does anyone want to tell me how you answered this one? No? We're going to put quince in. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. So for this next one, it's 1:47. So how are we going to say that? We're going to say es la una because it's 1. So we're going to use es and la. And there's some minutes. So we're going to put e. And the 47, we just went over that. 47. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? We're good with that? So for this next one, it's 4:45. So how are we going to say that? We're going to say son las 4, right? I just don't want this. Son las 4:45, right? So it's 4 and 45. So it's 4:45. Does that make sense to everybody? Is everybody okay with that? Hi, Amira. How are you?
Hi. I need help with this time stuff. I don't know how to do it. I need to catch up on my work. So,
Okay. So I know that you just came in, but I had a couple people ask me about a lab because do you guys have that for your other classes?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Dr. Dave, I don't have one currently, But I did text Dr. Dave and I said, hey, like I have a couple students that would like to set up a lab. So I'm more than happy to do that. I just want to get, when do you guys usually have labs?
Like 1, 2 o'clock.
1, 2 o'clock. Okay. Yeah, I mean that would be fine with me. Whatever you guys need to do, honestly we could do that like any day of the week. It works for me. So I know that you just came in, and I know that you've been having some problems with this stuff, and you're definitely not the only one. So we were just going over the homework. So yeah, so I can go over these with you again. That way you know. And like I said, I texted Dr. Dave. I didn't hear back from him yet, but if I don't hear back from him by the end of class, I'll just send you guys an email with what's going on with the lab, because like I said, I'm more than happy to work with you. And if for some reason it takes a while to set up or something like that, you can always feel free to send me an email and we can like set up a time to work on this. A couple people can come. I can work one-on-one, whatever you guys would like to do. So I'll let you know what's going on with that. So with the homework, so I'll go over this again for you because I know a couple of people are having problems with it. So I just went over a review of the telling time. So I put this is all stuff that we went over last week. So we're gonna do es and son, which literally means it is. Both of them mean it is. La and las plus the number. So here's some examples here for you. When we say es la una, that means it's 1 o'clock. So it is, and we just add the la because it's 1. And for this next example, it's son las dos, which means it's 2 o'clock. So remember, we only use es and la when it's 1 something, when it's 1 o'clock, 1:45, anything like that. We use son and las when it's any other number. So, oh, sorry, I did not mean to do that. Let me move that. Okay. So then, and remember, I know that on the homework, we had to add in the number of minutes for some of them. So we literally just add that to the end of the formula that we've been using. So we use es or son, like es for 1, son for all other numbers, la for 1, las for all other numbers, plus the number, whether it be, that's going to be 1 through 12. Like it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's things like that. And then we're going to add e, and that means and we're going to add the number of minutes. So an example of that is son las 3:05. So it is 3, and remember we're using las because it's more than 1, and cinco, so it's 3:05. So it literally translates to it's 3 and 5. Okay, so I just wanted to go over that again. So let's just go over the homework here. And like I said, it's totally okay if you guys send the homework in a little bit late or anything like that. So you'll still get credit for it. So for the first one here, we put es la una because remember, see, it says 1 o'clock right here, and we're using 1, so we're going to use es and la. So it's es la una. Does that make sense? And then just to review is for number 2, it's 4 o'clock. So remember, we're not going to use es and la because it's a number other than 1. So we're going to use son and las. So son las 4. That literally means it's 4 o'clock. Does that make sense? So we'll go over one right here, number 4, with some minutes at the end. So we're going to say es la una because it's 1. Es la 1:18. So that literally translates to it's 1 and 18. So it's 1:18. That's what you would say. Okay, so let me see. So number 8 here, just another example. So we want to say it's 4:45. So we're gonna say son las cuatro because we're gonna use son, and las because it's a number other than 1, and 40 and 5. So it literally translates to it's 4 and 40 and 5. So it's just saying it's 4:45. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. All right. So for the second part here, so it's asking, what time does school start? And just for this, we could just put like it's 7 a.m. or something like that. So son las siete, and that would be you could add de la mañana, but you don't have to. You could add that, but like I said, you definitely don't have to. So that would be son las siete de la mañana, and that literally translates to it's 7 o'clock in the morning. You could always just put son las siete, and that would be fine. That just means it's 7 o'clock. So the next one is asking, what time is lunch? So we're just gonna, let's just say that we eat lunch at noontime. So now remember, son. So we're just gonna say in the afternoon. So I just put at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So we use son and las because it's a number other than 1. We're using 12. And if you just put son las 12, that would be fine. That's, that means it's 12 o'clock. That would be fine with me. I just added in de la tarde, and that just means in the afternoon. So it's basically just says it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Does that make sense to everybody, or do we need a little bit of help with that? Everybody's okay with that? So it's asking, so for number 3, it's asking what time is Spanish class? So we'll just take the time that we use, 10:30. So let's do what we've been doing. Son las 10, right? So there we go. We could literally just put and that's exactly what I put. It's at 10:30. So son las, because it's a number other than 1, 10:30. It literally 10 and 30. So it's it literally says it's 10:30. So that is fine for that. Does anyone need more help or explanation on that one, or are we doing okay with that? Everybody's okay? So it's gonna ask, what time is dinner? So I'm just gonna say we eat at 6 o'clock. So we're just gonna put it's 6 o'clock at night or in the evening or whatever. Son las, because remember we're using a number other than 1, we're gonna use 6. So son las 6. Okay. And so I put it's 6 o'clock in the evening at night. So you could literally just put son las 6, that would be fine. That just means it's 6 o'clock. I just put de la noche to show that it's at night. So does that make sense to everybody? Do we need some more help with that? Everybody's okay? Let me move this so we can go over the last part here. Use that. So for the last part of our homework, we're going to select the correct time in Spanish from the options. So for number 1, it's 11 a.m. So let's read our options here. Las 11 de la mañana, which means it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Number 2 is las 12 de la mañana, which means it's 12 o'clock in the morning. And C, las 11 de la tarde, which means it's 11 o'clock in the afternoon. So which one are we going to pick? Does anybody know what we're going to pick? We're going to pick
A.
what was that?
A.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What was that? I'm sorry.
No, after Sophie was picking A.
Yes, yep, it's A. Good job. So for the next one, it says it's 1 o'clock p.m. So let's read through our options here. We have es la una de la mañana, which means it's 1 in the morning. Letter B is es la una de la noche, it's 1 o'clock at night. Or number C, es la una de la tarde, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Which one are we going to pick? Anybody want to take a guess? So 1 in the morning would be 1 o'clock a.m., right? So it's not that one. And for B, it's 1 o'clock at night. I don't know of any 1 o'clocks at night, so it's definitely not that one. So es la una de la tarde, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think that one is correct. All right. So for number 3, we have it's 3:45 a.m. So, and we didn't really go over, we're going to go over this today, so it's okay if you didn't do this one. So for A, it's las 4 menos cuarto de la mañana. So that literally means it's 4 minus 15 in the morning. So that would be 3:45 a.m. So A is the right one for that one, but don't worry if you didn't understand that one because we're going to go over that today, so that's fine. So for 12 o'clock p.m. for number 4, our first one is el mediodía, which literally means noontime, midday. B is la medianoche, which is midnight. And C is es la una de la tarde, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So which one are we going to pick for number 4? We're going to pick A because if it was midnight, it would be 12 o'clock a.m. And when it says it's 1 in the afternoon, that definitely doesn't say 1. So it's A. Okay. So for the last one on the homework, it's 12 o'clock a.m. So are we going to pick A, el mediodía, which is noontime? Is it B, la medianoche, which is midnight? Or is it C, son las 2 de la noche? It's 2 at night. So which one are we going to pick? Anybody want to take a guess? We're going to pick B. Yep, we're going to pick B. So remember, if it was noontime, like this one, it would be 12 o'clock p.m., but this is 12 o'clock a.m. So la medianoche means midnight. So we're going to pick that because it's a.m. And 2 at night, that's not a 2. So there you go. Does that make sense to everybody or? Okay. So does anybody need more help with that, or are we okay? Or what can I do for you guys? Does all of that stuff make sense, or do you need more help or anything? Okay. Figured. And like I said, I'm gonna work on let me see. Yeah, no, I didn't hear from Dr. Dave yet. So I'll let you guys know when I do. So back to our PowerPoint. So I hope that I cleared that up a little bit for you guys. If not, like I said, we'll set up the lab, we'll do stuff like that, and we'll figure it out. So going back to the presentation here. So this might actually help you learn the time a little bit. I just added in some time vocabulary. For the first one, de la madrugada is like in the very early morning or like dawn. So you could say like just like we were putting like de la tarde, de la mañana, things like that. If you put like son las tres de la madrugada, that means it's 3 o'clock in the very early morning. Number 2 is de la mañana, which we worked with. Number 3 is de la tarde in the afternoon. Number 4 is de la noche, which is at night or in the evening. Number 5 is en punto, which is on the dot. Don't worry about that one too much, but I thought it would be useful to know. Number 6 is más o menos, or around, like if you wanted to say like around 6 o'clock, you would say más o menos son las seis. So does that make sense? Like I said, don't worry about that stuff too much, but I included it, so it would help you out a little bit. Number 7 is medianoche, which is midnight, as we just went over. And number 8 is mediodía, which means noon. Does anyone have any questions on those, or would you like some time to copy them down, or what can I do? Is that okay? Is everybody okay with that?
Hold on, I'm about to screenshot it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. I'll give it a little bit of time so everybody can screenshot it here. Is everybody okay?
I screenshotted it.
Okay. All right, great. So, I do have some new telling time stuff. I know that you guys are a little bit stuck on this type of stuff, but we'll go over this for a couple classes yet. But and I do have some examples, so maybe this will help you guys out. So like I have on here, we know the majority of what we need to know. Like you guys can already tell time with what we have learned already. But there are a few tricks to telling time. So maybe this will help you out. So another formula that we can use is es or son, which is es for one, son for a number other than one, plus the la or the las. Remember, la is laws for one, losses for a number other than one. Give me 1 second. I wrote the wrong thing in here. So this is going to be a number from 1 to 12, not 2 to 12. Because remember, we're going to use la for one and es for la, son and las for a number other than one, plus menos plus the number of minutes. So this basically translates to it's blank minus blank number of minutes. Does that make sense to everybody? We don't really do this in English, so it's kind of different. Like I said, like if you never want to use this, you don't have to. So an example of that is son las dos menos cinco. So that literally means it's 2 o'clock minus 5 minutes. So it would be it's 1:55. Another example is es la una menos tres. It's 1 o'clock minus 3. So it's 12:57. And then I'm going to add in another slide here with some examples of that. And we'll go over them together. Does anybody want to tell me what the first one would be? So it's son las dos menos cuatro. So it would be it's 2 o'clock minus 4. So what would it be? Anybody want to take a guess? So when we think even in English of it's 2 o'clock minus 4, what would be like 2 o'clock minus 4 minutes? So it would be, it's 1:56, right? And like I said, we'll go over all this in the lab when we get it set up and things like that. So for the next one, we have, it's 3 minus 10. It's 3 o'clock minus 10 minutes. So what would that one be? So it would be, it's 2:50. Right. The next one, it's minus. So for that one, it's 5 o'clock minus 7 minutes. So what would that one be? So it would be, it's 4:53. Okay, is that making sense to everybody, or do we need more examples or anything like that? Is everybody kind of okay with that? And there's some examples of that in the homework and things like that. And we'll go over that in the lab when we get it set up. So the last little bit that I wanted to go over today is to say, oh, what is going on? The last little bit that I want to go over today is there are ways to say like it's exactly like 1:30, 2:30, it's exactly 1:15, it's exactly 1:45, things like that. And that was kind of what number 3 was in the last part of the homework. So to say that it's exactly half past the hour, so like 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, things like that, we just say the number e media, and that just means, and like e media pretty much just means and half. So when we say son las 4:30, that literally it's 4.5, so it's 4:30. So es la 1:30, it's 1:30. Does that make sense to everybody? I figured that this was like kind of the easier stuff with this.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, you get that? Okay, so to say that it's a quarter into the hour, like 1:15, 2:15, we say the number y cuarto. So that would be an example of that is son las 5:15. It's 5:15. Let me add in another example there. If I could get out of here. So another example of that would be somebody want to tell me what that would mean? Son las 7:15. So remember, son las 7, so it's 7. Y cuarto, and y cuarto means 15 minutes. So it'd be, it's 7:15. Right? So for the next one, to say it's a quarter until the hour, like saying like it's 1:45, it's 2:45, we say the number menos cuarto. So we use the number like for 1:45, it would be 2 minus 15. So dos menos cuarto. So an example of that is son las 7 menos cuarto. It's 7 o'clock minus 15 minutes. So it's 6:45. Let's do another example of that. So we have son las 10 menos cuarto. So what would that one be? We're going to say it's 10 o'clock minus 15 minutes. So we would say it's 9:45, right? Okay. So we have that. So the plans for, would anybody like more examples of those? Or are we like kind of okay? Like I said, I'll go over all this in the lab. So just to go over our plans for next class is we're going to go over the new time vocabulary. we'll do the numbers 50 through 60. We'll review all of telling time. We're gonna review the homework that we're gonna do for Thursday. I don't think that we're really gonna get to the describing ourselves. I think that we're just gonna do some more time stuff. And okay, so let's go to the homework for Thursday. It's kind of the same thing because I kind of figured that there might be some issues with this. So let's see. Let's just go over it quick so you guys know what to do. All right. So remember, we're just it says write the appropriate form of ser. So pretty much you're just going to use es or son. So for number 1, we're going to put es, right? Because it's la una. And for 2, we're going to put son because it's las dos, right? So like we've been going over, and for the second part you're just going to translate the following sentences. So for this one you'd literally put son las cuatro y you could put las cuatro y cuarto, or you could put son las cuatro y quince. Does that make sense? Everybody kind of know what you're supposed to do for that. Okay. And for number 3, for the third part, we're going to choose the correct time expression. So when we say it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to say son las dos de la tarde, right? Right? Because when we say it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's not 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not 2 o'clock at night. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we do have like all of these vocabulary words in the PowerPoint. We did go over them today. So if you need any help with that, you can look at that. And this is just another example for the these are just more examples of like the morning, afternoon, and night. So it says Juan runs in the mornings, and it says Juan corre, which means literally means Juan runs. So when are we going to say that he runs? De las mañanas. Oh, actually, I didn't realize that this was like this. So actually, we're just not going to do this entire part because it has stuff in it that we didn't do yet. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So just ignore that 7 there. I'm trying to. Nope. Okay, there we go. So yeah, don't even worry about that last part. I just actually took it out, so it shouldn't be there anymore. So just do the 1, 2, and 3. Do the instructions make sense to everybody? Is everybody okay with that? Feel free to email me with problems. Let me just make sure that that actually is the way it's supposed to be. Oops, hold on, I remove this. Let me just make sure that that's actually the way it's supposed to be now. It should be. Oop. No, it's just not. Yes, it is. So the correct version is on Google Classroom. So when you go to do your homework, you should be okay. So does anyone need any more examples of anything before we end class today? Anything like that. And like I said, I'll send out an email and things like that about the lab because yeah, I still haven't gotten a text back from Dr. Dave. So like I said, I will send out an email as soon as I know what's going on with that. I'll stop my share here and we'll